So when it's your turn to run the P.O.P.A.T, you're going to be standing right here. So think of this as a starter's box. You have the cone on the right-hand side. If you're standing over there, if you're standing over there, that just tells us that you're putting your game plan together before you do your run, and that's okay. Take your time because you want to think about your route. You want to think about your pace before you start. Okay, so when you're ready, you're going to stand here. As soon as you step over this black line, we start the clock. Okay, so we go on your go. We'll always have 2 stopwatches just in case one gets bumped. That way we have a backup watch. So you just head off this way when you're ready. Just like any obstacle course, when you knock a cone over or knock it off its mark, you must put it back on the mark. For all of our marks for the P.O.P.A.T, they're blue. If it just shifts around, that's fine. But if we see the blue, you have to go back and put that cone back on its spot. When you go around the cones, both feet have to go around the cones. You cannot jump over them, cannot straddle them. Then you're coming to the mat jump. If you touch it with your toe, so if you touch it with your toe, or if you touch it with your heel, that counts as a strike, and you're going back to the previous cone. If you do it again, strike 2. If you do it a 3rd time, strike 3, your test is done. It can be on one lap, or it can be all on separate laps. It does accumulate, okay? So do not touch the mat. What counts as a touch? It has to be that overlap. If it's right up against the edge, that is fine, but an overlap will count as a touch. If we are not sure if you touch it or not, we will go in your favor, but we will coach you and make sure that you know, okay, that jump was tight, so you have to jump really big on the next one. When you jump over, you must go short edge to short edge. And we just say that because sometimes people will jump to the side, avoiding the mat. Just because you don't touch the mat doesn't mean you cleared it. So picture that as an invisible line, okay? You have to get all the ways over, then you're heading up towards the stairs. For the stairs, you can use the railings on the way up and the way down as much as you like. You must touch at least 1 step on the way up. At least 1 foot must be on the top, and at least 1 foot on the way down. This is for safety reasons. If you miss one, you get a warning. If you miss it again, you have to go back over the stairs, then back up over them, okay? The most commonly missed one's the top one, so make sure to hit all those minimums. Then you're coming down here and you're going to go around this cone. You can go right to left, left to right, any sort of turn you want, and then you're heading back up. When people start to get really tired, they start running really wide around this cone. When you do that, you're adding more and more distance onto your course every single lap. So make sure to stay nice and tight and then head up the stairs. For the stairs, you can hit every single step, every second step, or do the minimums, whatever works for you. But you want to choose a stride length that keeps your momentum going. If you find you start losing your momentum and have to pull on the railings, you're trying way too hard early on. Think of the agility course as your warm-up. You don't want to be burning too much energy during this part of the course. Once you're off the stairs, you're coming to the right. You're going to go around this cone here, and you're going into the hurdle section. For the hurdle sections, you must be between the upright, so you cannot do a one-legged hurdle, and there must be a flight phase. So there must be a point where neither foot is touching the ground, okay? If you simply step over it, that's not acceptable. You have to go back and redo them if you step over it. Now, if you knock it off, whether it's this one or this one, okay, so they just pop off, you have to put them back on the base here, go back to this cone, and then reattempt. You can knock them off as many times as you like, but you just don't get past this section until you've been able to jump over them without knocking them. Very important to note, these are weighted heavy on one side, so before you mount it, hold a loose grip. Notice how it spins on them, on my hands here. You want to make sure that heavy side is down, so when you put it on there, it doesn't spin off, okay? Otherwise, you'd have to go back and redo it. So you're going around the cone, over both of these hurdles, coming in here, and back to the start cone. Between each lap, you're going between the cone and the wall, and you'd head off again. Now, in terms of route that people will do when they run the course, some people are very much steady state athletes where they just maintain one steady pace. If that is you, you want to stay as tight to these cones as possible. So this is almost a V shape, and you want to be very, very tight around the cones. Now, some people come with a sports background where they accelerate and decelerate quite a bit, and they're used to that, and you can apply that in here as well. So if somebody does that, they'll usually run quick over the hurdles, do a little bit more of a bank turn here until they shoot out over the mat, then they rest and recover on the stairs. So you can take some of your sports background and apply it into the course, okay? When you're done your 6 laps, you're coming in generally between a minute and 2.5, or a minute 50 and 2.5 minutes. For lap paces, because that's a question a lot of people will ask, a 20-second lap pace, if it's consistent, will be 2 minutes. 23 seconds is 2:18. 25 seconds is 2.5 minutes. So you want to choose a pace that you can maintain. If you do have the opportunity to practice the P.O.P.A.T, you want to look at your lap times. If your lap times are becoming slower and slower, that shows us that you're starting to get fatigued and you started off way too fast. You want to be able to maintain a nice steady pace here. That way you can use your energy the best at the push-pull and the vault. Now, good news, if you have errors, so say you touch the mat or you knocked a hurdle, do not panic. That's okay on test day. We do factor that into your time. Correct it, forget about it, don't let it phase you. We're more curious about how you stress about it versus what that extra time is. So you can still use it to your advantage. Okay? So once you're done your 6 laps, you're coming into the push-pull. Okay. So for the push-pull, we know what's going on based on the color right here. So when red is at the machine, it's down. When yellow is there, it's up, but it's your warning, you don't have much wiggle room. When green is there, it means you have a lot of space, so you have a lot of room for some error. Okay? When you come in, you have to grab onto the pole first. So you must grab onto the rope here. You cannot grab up here or on here. You're pulling it out until you get the green or yellow, and you start your arc. Okay? You're going until your foot touches or crosses over this line, and then you're going back. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, if during your arcs you do not go far enough, you have to come back and complete that arc before you go on to the next one. If you drop it at any point, so if the red slides into the machine, you're going to the closest baseline and starting all 6 arcs over again. So it must be 6 consistent 180-degree arcs for the pull, okay? Now, in terms of body position, both elbows have to be bent and you must sidestep. So both elbows bent, sidestep. If you cross your feet, that's an error. If you straighten out one arm or both arms, those are errors. You get 2 warnings, and then you get an extra arc added on for each one after that. The way you'll hear it is 1 warning, 2 warnings, 7 arcs, 8 arcs, and so on. If you were to accumulate extra arcs and you drop it, you have to start all over again, okay? So make sure that you keep it nice and clean, and you keep your ears open when we're talking, okay? Now, body position-wise, what you really want to do for an effective pull that requires minimal energy, get your feet right underneath the frame. Grab onto the rope, trust your grip, and fall back, sit down with it, okay? Down like so, and you're gonna max it out nice and easy. If I'm up like this, I have to use a lot more strength. Here, I'm using a lot more body weight, okay? So you're down this position, almost like you're in a lazy boy chair, and you wanna be light on your feet, okay? Some people, when they start, they're pulling so hard, it's like they're trying to pull 100 pounds. we're only pulling 80. So you want to find that perfect balance of just doing enough for it, okay? If you're smaller, you might have to get down really low, and that's okay. Once you're done the pull, then you're going to go into the push. Rules are very similar. We're just applying the force in the opposite direction. So you're going to grab onto the frame, okay, push it in to get the yellow and green, start your arc. Just like with the pull, as soon as your foot touches on or over the line, that counts as your arc. You must do 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just like before, if you don't complete the arc, you have to go back, complete it before you go on to the next one. And if the red slides out at any point, go to the closest base and start all over again. Now, really important to remember, when you're finishing your 6th arc, make sure you complete it before you drop it. Sometimes people will let go of the weight, thinking they finished, they didn't, and they run over there and they have to come back and restart everything. You don't want to do that, okay? So make sure you complete that push. For body position rules, both elbows have to be bent and you have to sidestep. Okay, so elbows bent, sidestep. That's just like the pull. So what that means is you cannot go in straight arm, but you also cannot be so maxed out your hands are on your shoulders or your chest is on here. And this is so we see your arm strength, okay? Leaning, this is just leaning. Same if we're like this, we're just leaning. But also, you do not have great control if it's out far or if it's in too close. So think about 6 to 8 inches off your chest when you're holding it and staying nice and strong with it, okay? The most common error out of both the pull and the push is crossing the feet during the push. So when you're doing the push, you want to keep your hips square so you can sidestep. If you cross your legs, those are errors. Just like the pull, you get 2 warnings, and then you get an extra arc added on for each one after that. So remember, keep it clean. Now, in terms of technique that you want to try with the push, because it's really hard to mimic in the gym and you've likely never experienced something like this before, first is just hand position. So if we look inside the machine here, there's a rolling mechanism on the bottom and on the top. So if I grab up high, when I push in, you're going to notice part of my energy goes upwards and I'm lifting up the machine. I'm adding on more friction just because of my hand position. Same if I'm down too low. It's going to put more pressure on that bottom rolly. It's going to be, once again, a lot harder to do. You want to grab somewhere in the middle, and this will vary depending on how tall you are. For me, I line my hand up with this bolt, and it makes it a lot easier to push in, okay? Once you have your hand position in, you really want to hold your arms tight to your body. So think about holding it in line with the seam with your shirt. If we brace here, and if we brace in our core, now it becomes all legs. So I'm grabbing on here, pushing in, squeezing. And if you look at my legs, I'm in a triple flex position, so my ankles, knees, and hips are bent. If the push comes out, I just bend my legs and I straighten them. So now you can see I don't use much arm strength and I use more leg strength. Okay, so back and forth. Now it becomes leg exercise. We can all move 80 pounds with our legs. Now, some errors that people will do with their position is some will keep their heels down. Now, if you look at my body position, I can't use my legs anymore. They're fully straight. Okay, the only thing I could do is go up on my toes, which does not help to push in, or push in with my stomach, which is also not beneficial. So get all those joints bent so you can use them. Once you're in that position, you want to stay nice and steady with your push. You do not want to hop. If you hop up and down, there's a point where neither foot's touching the ground and there's nothing pushing into the machine. So always keep one foot on the ground while you're driving in to save your energy and to be effective. And smart and smooth. Okay, so this is a nice steady pace where you have great control. Notice how it's not pushing out on me. I can control it the whole time. Okay, so those are some handy tips for the push-pull. Now we're heading over to the vault. You are going to drop immediately onto the ground so your chest and hips touch the ground. You can face any direction you want as long as both are touching. So this counts because my chest and hips are down. This doesn't because only my stomach's on the ground, so it does not count. If my hips are off the ground like so, it doesn't count. So you must have your whole body down. Pop yourself up. Once you're standing, now you can grab onto the bar. What I mean by that is if you're on the ground, you cannot use the bar to get yourself up. If you pull on the bar to get yourself up, you have to go back down on the ground and get yourself back up again. So hands off. Once just your feet are touching the ground, now you can grab onto the bar. When you're going over the bar, only your hands can weight bear. So you can jump this way, you can go to the side, you can do a barrel roll, you can get over whichever way, as long as it's just your hands that weight bear. So what that means is if you step on it, sit on it, roll on it, rest on it, you get 1 warning, 2 warnings, and then you get an extra vault added on for each one after that, okay? So hands are what's weight bearing. Now if you go over it and maybe your knee or toe ding it, that's fine, that's not weight bearing. Sometimes things just get in the way, but you wanna make sure that just your hands touch. Okay, once you're on this side, you're going down into your sit-up. Shoulder blades, bum, and feet must be on the ground, and we must see you flex at your hips, okay? So we must see you bend here. This is simply just rolling on your back and doesn't count, so you'll have to redo it. So remember, bend at the hips. Things that you can do, you can whip your arms, you can pull, you can push, all of that is fine. Once you're in this position, you can continue getting up forward or you can roll over. And the reason I say that, we get really tired at this point. Some people will just go down on their back and roll over without doing a sit-up. Remember, you must do that sit-up first. Okay? We've gone over how to get up, how to get over. Last thing is just how to get to ground. You cannot just chuck yourself over and go splat on the ground. You must land on your feet and then drop down. But you can still do it really quick. Okay, so feet, drop. If I did just chuck myself over and just drop right to the ground without any control, I have to stand back up, go back down again. Now the amount of times you're going to do this, you're coming in, chest for 1, back for 1, chest for 2, back for 2, back and forth until you've done 5 and 5. Once you're done your 5th sit-up, you're gonna stand up. That's when the clock stops, or that's when we give you extra vaults. So say you get finished on this side and you went like this 3 times to get over the vault. We'll tell you have to do 1 more vault because you get your 2 freebies. If you have to do an extra vault, grab the bar, feet down. Once your feet touch the ground, the clock stops. So there's no going down on your chest or doing a sit-up. It's just clearing the bar, okay? The time you need is under 4:15, so 4:14 is a pass, 4:15 is not. When you're done that, you have a 30-second break before you start the bag carry, okay? Now some key points for the vault. You want to spend as minimal amount of time in the air as possible. When we're in the air, we can't do anything, so you want to get your feet back on the ground as quick as you can. When you're going back and forth, try and stay tight to the bar. Some people will run back and forth, adding on extra steps back and forth, so you want to stay nice and tight to it. For the sit-up, if you have to roll over to get up, don't roll away from the bar, roll towards it. Just remember, do not grab it to get up, okay? Also, where you choose to put your landing will make you go quicker without actually moving faster. So when I do it myself, I always land on my feet here so I can drop immediately onto my chest. If I were to land right here, I'm not going to drop down onto that bar because it's right there. So I'd naturally take a step or 2 back, adding more time onto my time. When I do my sit-up, I put my feet in this far box here. That way I can go right down into a sit-up and then back up. Same thing, if I landed here for my sit-up, I'm not going to go down right away because that's right there, so I would move once again. So stay as tight as possible here. Okay, so we have 1 more thing to go over. So after you have that 30-second break, or within that 30-second break, I should say, you're going to do the bag carry. So the bag carry tests your ability to move an object when you're tired, and it also measures your grip strength, okay? So you need to grab onto the extra material on the side. You can go underhand, you can go overhand, you can go neutral, whichever works, but we must see you grasp. So you can get a good grip on each side, and this bag here is 100 pounds, okay? You're going to use your legs to get some momentum going so you can carry it at your hips. So using those legs, get it up. Do a quick check. Does your grip feel good? If yes, go. If no, put it down, readjust. Because as soon as you start walking with the bag, you've committed to the carry. You're going to go around this far cone here, and then you're going to take the bag right back where you got it from. If you drop the bag, if you start carrying it below your knees, or if you drop or slam it at the end, it is a fail for the test, so you really do not want to do that. Remember, put it down nice and controlled. Once it's down softly on the ground, you're done your test. Just remember, slamming the bag, dropping the bag, carrying it below the knees results in a fail for the entire test. Okay?